Will the owner of the bull in the car park please remove the pile? Oh, hi. Sorry, Miles. Away. Working on my faith, you see. However strong you think it is, there's always a crack somewhere that needs fixing. I'm sure you understand. Let me reintroduce myself properly. My name is still God's best friend, and I'm still, together with my army, defending the Almighty, who's under constant attack by the non-believers. You see, some of you might get the wrong impression that we, defenders of creation, have got some kind of bias against science. Well, let me tell you this. We, creationists, love science. All of our narrative is pure science. Some of my best friends are scientists. You might even know one of them quite well. His name is SDB, or Satan's delivery boy. When I say he is a good friend, I'll have to stress that the word good doesn't describe anything about his usefulness to the world, just that I will be sorry to see him die, because we will probably not see each other again when I die. Unless I bribe someone. Now, as you look around you, you see a universe. That universe is so complex and amazing that only a fool can say that it has just popped into being. I'm sorry, scientists. This creation clearly had a creator. Just as a toilet is created by a plumber and a joke is created by a joker, so is the universe. It was created by a universe maker. Some call such entity God, but you can call him anything you like as long as you do it with reverence. Now, with that off my chest, let me discuss with you today something that might be a little confusing to some of you. Thermodynamics. Before I delve into that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, allow me to use this opportunity to extend to Satan's delivery boy's niece, who is not well apparently, my best wishes. I would follow this with a little prayer, but our time is short and God is aware of the problem and is working on it as we speak. Right, thermodynamics. The first law, no free lunch, is simple enough, but the second is such a confusing issue that even God has found it hard to understand, let alone implement. You see, some think that evolution is a process whereby complexity grows over time. I beg to differ. In the beginning, God, otherwise known as He who must be obeyed, created a perfect world in 6, count them, 6 days. He looked at it, I'm sorry? You want me to break it down for you? Okay, I suppose God is in the details. Please concentrate as our time is limited and the details are many. Right, let's start with day 1, in which God created a perfectly dark world, and then He created the first perfect light. He also created the first law of thermodynamics. It was good. By the way, when I say good, it's not me saying that, but God. I'm sorry? Yes, He created and fine-tuned it at the same time. For you, of course, boys and girls. He fine-tuned it for you, so you can sit here and waste my time with your stupid questions. I'll deal with the fine-tuning in the next chapter, if you let me finish this one. On day 2, please stop me if I'm going too fast, he separated the waters below from the waters above, which he named heaven. It was basically a safe space where he was not to be disturbed. Good luck with that. On the 3rd day, he created dry land, or earth, by pushing the sea aside with a stern look. If you conclude that gravity made its first appearance on that day, I'm not going to argue with you. Not bad. Oh, on that very same day, what are the odds? God created grass and fruits, one of which was, unfortunately, the fruit of knowledge. I know it was a mistake, but it looked good at the time. Day 4, please concentrate, you will be tested on this, was dedicated to lighting. Here, I might get a little too technical for some of you, but please take my word for it. He installed a big light in the day sky and a slightly smaller light in the night sky. If you're good, boys and girls, we will visit the smaller light source, otherwise known as the moon, on a later talk, but for now, let's just say that this was, of course, the world's first light bulb moment, which begs the question, how on earth did God come up with the idea without a light bulb? Oh, speaking of which, if you wash your hands, boys and girls, and preferably your brains, you will experience a light bulb moment at a later chapter. The rest was easy. With what was left in the bucket, he sprinkled the sky with 420 billion, count them, 420 billion galaxies. Nothing to it. I don't know about you, boys and girls, but if I was asked to create the universe, I'm not sure I could have done it in the dark. Luckily for you, I'm not your God. On day 5, God was getting really creative and filled the sea and heaven with life. We're talking goldfish here, which was good, but not as good as the life. We're talking dinosaurs here. He created on day 6. Now, everything God has created until around Friday noon was out of what in creation science is called quantum imagination field. I know it seems hard to you and me, but it's God we're talking about here. It was a piece of metaphorical cake. However, creating man, which was the point of the whole project, was a real challenge. I know creating a human for you and me is no big deal, really. All you have to do is corner one of your wives for a few minutes, but it's God we're talking about here. I know, you know, God is omnipotent, but that doesn't mean he can do whatever the hell he feels like. If he needs someone raped, for example, he subcontracts the job. Now, boys and ladies, gentlemen and girls, stop it. Scratching your head isn't going to help you. God, if you haven't twigged to it yet, is good at doing good, but, luckily enough, bad at doing bad, which, if my math is correct, means good. Don't get me wrong here. It's not that God doesn't want to do bad. Of course he does. Who wouldn't? He just can't. Oh, no, he can't. He was designed this way. I'm not sure, and it doesn't matter. Well, some say he designed himself, or was designed by an earlier, more complex, of course, God. Others insist he was created by a bull. There are many theories as to how God popped into being, see chapter 1, but it's not for us to speculate. All we need to know is that God is not designed to do evil. If you don't believe me, go ahead and test the theory. Yes? No? Just a simple prayer, see? He can't lie, he can't joke, he can't slaughter a sheep, he can't score an own goal, he can't fart, and rape, as we saw, is not something he can do either. In other words, God is not bad, indeed omnipotent, at telling it like it is, at being serious, as well as nurturing lambs, scoring goals, and not letting out poisonous gases, not to mention platonic love. But as far as doing evil is concerned, God is exactly impotent. So, gentlemen, boys, creating a man, if you're God, is a bit harder than you might think. And even if God was able to chase a woman, corner her, give her a good time, and exactly to do all that, you need a woman. And if you inspect the Bible, at that particular point in time, there weren't any. For the first time in 5.5 days, God was facing a crisis. It was his image he was worried about, and frankly, until that point, God haven't had the chance to see it. Pardon me? What's not to understand here, ladies and girls? Ask yourselves, if you are in the kitchen doing the dishes, and a cat, for example, was looking at you, would you do it properly? Of course, God needed to make man in his image. He needed a mirror. So he invented one, took one look at it, and what are the odds? Like the image he saw, creation was done. A perfect world or universe created and fine-tuned for the man. I'm sorry? Right. A woman. Well, it might have escaped me, but not God, thank God. A perfect world or universe fine-tuned for the man at the center of it. Pardon? No, the woman was fine-tuned to fit the man, just as the socket was fine-tuned to fit the plug. But, as I mentioned earlier, I will discuss fine-tuning on my next lecture. Other than that, if you want more details, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, seek out Dr. Kent Hovind's YouTube work or the Bible. We've got a lot more ground to cover. Pardon? a disclaimer. So I must have missed that. Please note, ladies and gentlemen, that other sexes are available. Obviously, God likes to experiment, but let's face it, a plug and a socket are enough. Yes, that's a problem with creators such as God. I could have told him the two sexes were all you need to create life, and electricity for that matter, but he never asked. So, back to God. He looked at his creation the way a painter admires his own handiwork, or a plumber flushing a toilet, and came to the conclusion that it was good. He definitely deserved a day off. Now, while he was resting on his well-deserved laurels, a thought came creeping into his head. Dear God, he said unto himself, from now on, it's all downhill. That, boys and girls, is the essence of the second law of thermodynamics. As with many issues of science and religion, there is no one better at explaining a complex issue with a few well-chosen words than the incredible Dr. Ken Hovind. To those of you scratching their heads, Dr. Hovind is God's #1 defender and resident scientist. Another function the doctor holds is God's legal advisor, where he steers the Almighty around nature's out-of-control legal system. Now, I know some of you who bumped into Dr. Hovind on YouTube or in his dinosaur rescue center, otherwise known as Dinoland, were reminded of an old uncle who tends to ruin weddings and funerals. Sorry, what? Pensacola, Florida. Yes, it's open to the public. No, they're not dangerous. Please, allow me. There are many points to cover and time is short. Where was I? Yes, Dr. Hovind, some of you equate him to a noisy uncle who tends to pick on the young members of a family and make predictions such as how tall they're going to be and how many wives they're going to bury. Looking back, surprisingly enough, some of his predictions are not far off. Now, if that's your view of Dr. Hovind, so be it. To me, it comes across as an alpha male bull, but that's me. Whether he is a boring uncle or an invincible raging bull is beside the point I'm trying to make. We're talking about the second law of thermodynamics here. I must admit, I was floored when I saw or heard Hovind's demonstration of the second law. It was so short, yet so power-pointed, that with the exception of Dr. Hovind, only God could have created it. I'm not in the business of questioning God, but if I was he, I'd put Hovind's YouTube clips into the Bible. It would be in a section called The Latest Testimony, introducing the Bible to a whole new audience. But even outside the Bible, it's still a divine piece of work. You should really see it to appreciate it, but I can't be bothered linking it, so I'll describe it for you instead. So, hang on. Before we delve into the recent past, I'd like to talk to you about the future, if it's all the same to you. We all know the past, especially the winners. Very few of us know the future. I don't know about you, boys and girls, but when I look at the past, I don't see any challenges. The future is where the real action is. Now, boys and girls, I'm going to introduce you to a technological miracle. I'm going to refer to that device quite a lot, and so I will have to do it gently. It is to do with time, and it's mechanical. They say that if you see a gun in the first act of a play, someone will use it in the third act. In the case of the time machine, however, if you see one on chapter 2, someone has already crashed it in chapter 12. But we're jumping ahead of ourselves, which is why the second oldest profession, that of a prophet, is so specialized. Prophecy, of course, is easy if you have a time machine at your disposal. But believe you me, for the good prophet, building one is a waste of time. A time machine has its uses, of course, and in fact, if you hold your horses until a later chapter named You Have Reached Your Destination, I might even take you for a spin in one. But using one for prophecy is, well, cheating. Between me and the Holy Cross, the best prophets are those who evade the error of time and use phrases such as the end of days. The mark of a good prophecy is, it is impossible to falsify. Oh, speaking of that later chapter, you have reached your destination. If you're thinking of going there prematurely, don't. When you get there, you might find the title to be "You have missed your destination," and if you try to go back to the past, you might find there isn't any. There might be some, but not in this universe. Unless you follow my lectures in the right order of course. Now, I'm not saying Dr. Ken Hovind is a prophet, although he successfully predicted the flood, but he knows his way around Microsoft PowerPoint. And so, to the demo. Behold, it contains count them, three photographs. In the first photograph, we see a beautiful young lady at her prime. She looks radiant, healthy, and fit for purpose, as they say. Her long blonde hair is shiny, her perfect skin is smooth, her smile perfect. If you look for poetic reference, the best line that comes close to doing her justice is "Sweet little 16. That's the first photograph, number 2. Now, we fast forward to the second photograph, number 3. In this photo, we view the same woman 40 years later. If you look very hard, you can see her past beauty, but why the fuck should you bother? If you look very hard at the pile of bullshit, you can see the beautiful green grass it once was, but even if you're an alpha male bull, you're not going to eat it. And speaking of bulls, if you trade futures on Wall Street, yesterday's future prices are not exactly what you're looking for. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're not looking for past beauty here. It's future beauty we're interested in, and this lady is not getting prettier anytime soon. Her skin is so stretched, she can't stop smiling. When you look at a smile, you stop your car in case someone wants to walk across her mouth. I mean, can you imagine that lady out in the woods with the boys hunting stegosaurs? No, neither can I. In short, if I wish to be offensive, I would say she is as useful as a Chihuahua dog, but I don't wish to insult the poor Chihuahua dog. I mean, that lady, what is she good for? Which leads us to the third photo. That same woman, 40 years later. A pile of bones, the weakest link, good. Bye. She has reached her destination, and she's still smiling. The third photograph is number 4, by the way. And this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is all you need to know about the second law of thermodynamics. Everything starts perfect as created by God, and then it's downhill from there. That's it. End of. What? Sorry, folks. Apparently, I have a new opinion on the old. I don't like it, but like families, sometimes you can't choose your opinions. It says here that old is the new young, and well, let's leave it for later. It probably sets an upper limit for sex and voting. Do we care? Not now. Later. Let's get back to Hovind's immortal work. So, where were we? Right, we were comparing the merits of an old lady and a Chihuahua dog. I would take the dog any day of the week, but that's me. If you prefer an old lady, be my guest. All the more dog for me. On second thought, you can have the dog as well. Oh, speaking of women and dogs, I am informed that I have just received an apology regarding those two fabulous life forms. It's always nice to receive an apology, although it's only one of the 6,415 I'm expecting as we speak. Still, what? Oh, I am the one making the apology. What are the odds? If there are any female dogs in the crowd, I am deeply sorry for, and I quote, belittling your creativity and metaphorically stepping on it. End quote. It says the apology should be sincere, too. Well, bitches, I am sincerely sorry. Next time I will try to avoid your shit, and I will do the dishes if it makes you happy. Can I proceed? And I'll bang you on the head only if you deserve it. Now, back to thermodynamics. What? Love. God's moral code says what? Right. Yes, if you feel you need to bang your wife or wives, you can do it. Just make sure you do it with love. It works. Trust me on this. Oh no. Don't be fooled here, boys and girls. It's that atheists against Satan's delivery boy. Just the other day, He came to me and said that the famous sequence of photographs had a missing link, possibly two. And how is your little niece? I slowed him down. Not very well, he said. I mentioned his employer as a possible cause, but he insisted that doctors were on the case, and can we please concentrate on the more important issues, which was fine by me. God can deal with stuff like that. The missing links, however, got me worried. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you know me. I am an open-minded man. I'm not afraid to change my mind if the facts demand it. I don't know about you, boys and girls, but I was always told that if you make an incredible claim, you need to show me an incredible proof. We're talking about something akin to editing the Bible here. So I turned to SDB and said, you claim there's a missing link? Possibly two. He confirmed with a straight face. Two, defending God on your lunch break against one claim is one thing, but defend against two pieces of evidence, and now we're talking health and safety. Two missing photos? If I'm not mistaken. If God was concerned about Dr. Hovind's integrity, he didn't let it be known. I looked up into the heaven where a pigeon took aim at my head. Luckily, or thanks to God, I saw it just in time. Two missing links? Yes, said STB, wiping the pigeon sheet of one of his horns. If memory serves me well now, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, God's defending is a job that's done in silence, as is clear from Dr. Hovind's monastic and humble career. We, defenders of the Creator and His creation, are not ones to blow our trumpets or blow our airplanes into anybody's buildings. We are, mostly, quite a humble bunch. And usually it works. God has buried all his attackers so far, and those who are still active are going down soon enough. But sometimes, as now, God's word needs to be heard. Two, if my math is correct. In that case, I said, you know what to do. What? And now, boys and girls, I'll have to warn you to stick your fingers into your ears. Satan's delivery boy needed to be told firmly what to do. What? Show me the evidence. What do you know? And they say the justice system works. Evidence? Why not ask a burglar if he did it? He showed me a photo of a sperm going full speed towards an egg, and he said, listen to this, he said, I'm not sure the sperm and egg belong to this particular girl, but it's a proof of concept. Proof of concept. Typical science. No direct evidence, so you throw proofs of concept about. What can I tell you? I was fuming, but then I took a deep breath and reconsidered. You see, SDB, Satan's delivery boy, is an old pal, and so I agreed, just to keep the dialogue going, you see, that even if it wasn't the exact sperm and egg of that particular girl, she, in all likelihood, probably be the product of two similar items. I'm okay with that. Sometimes evidence can be less direct. I've seen people go to the chair for less, and besides, he showed me the number at the bottom of the photograph. It was number 1. Now, he said, I know some of you people of faith like to marry them young, but even you must admit that at this stage, this girl is not yet fit for purpose. To qualify for the fit for purpose test, she has to grow taller, maybe learn a few words and the odd sentence, grow a pair of tits maybe, you see where I'm going here? She doesn't need to be too complex, but she needs to be more complex than this. And he put his finger in the space between the sperm and the egg. There was a pause, and then I got it. What Satan's delivery boy was really saying is that things sometimes grow more complex, more orderly, despite the second law of thermodynamics. Shit. This was bad. Remember the last time you were in dark alley facing a man barely visible, probably holding a knife? I felt more scared than that. Not for myself, mind you. It's God I was worried about. I can digest a fact or two and still remain just as simple. But If you are a god in a world where the second law of thermodynamics is so widely ignored, you quickly run into existential issues, not to mention health and safety ones. I looked skyward just to make sure that God was with us, but what are the odds? He was obscured by a passing teapot. You'll have to agree, ladies and gentlemen, that anyone else would crumble there and then, but not God's best friend. They say, if my memory serves me well, that God helps those who help themselves. What they don't say is that God's best friend helps God even when he doesn't help himself. In fact, sometimes I wonder if God still remembered how to defend himself, what would me always have in his back? So, take it from me, anyone in my predicament would crumble, but not God's best friend. They don't call me that for nothing, you see. I've been called many names down the years, but chicken was not one of them. When God is pushed into a corner, he can count on his best friend to sort things out. First, I asked God for strength, which he was happy to supply. A good God knows what's good for him. Second, I gathered all my multiple selves for an emergency meeting and devised a masterful plan of attack. Sit down and listen carefully, I said to SDB, my inner St. George taking over. A thermonuclear bomb exploded across the street, but when I'm in the middle of a conversion, I don't pay attention to such nonsense. Never mind that. I brushed the mushroom cloud aside with disdain. SDB opened his mouth, but I was quicker. You are what they call a scientist, right? Yes, although not a very good one. That's obvious, I plowed on. And thank God for that. If we work hard enough, we might just, together, be able to stop your scientific career before it gets out of control. Okay. I like scientists like SDB. They are some of God's best creations. I'm listening. There are a few things you don't understand about God, I continued. It's not your fault, but you should seek that knowledge nonetheless. That suspension might pop any minute. As the saying goes, it's not you, it's me. The fact that your knowledge of God is poor shows what a poor teacher I can be. Now, let's go back to day 7, right? God's day off. This is the time when God is recuperating, having created the whole universe in 6 days with one hand. So, he has a day off, if you don't mind. SDB didn't begrudge the Lord his day off. So, the next day, he goes to work with a vengeance, I said. You see, the second law has been designed by your boss, the devil. God could have created a different law, but he subcontracted it to your boss. Big mistake, if I may say so. Satan, as you know, tries to destroy everything all the time. As a result, God has to create order everywhere and all the time. Satan destroys, God rebuilds. Are you with me? STV was with me. If I'm going too fast for you, please stop me. I don't want you coming back tomorrow saying, just one more quest. SDB mumbled that I was making a lot of sense and that he was reformulating his worldview as we spoke. Good boy, I said. I know you are loyal to your employer. I can't blame you for that. Don't worry about him. Well, it's my job to worry about the likes of him. Fair enough, he said. So God rebuilds every... Absolutely. It's a battle that is forever ongoing. But you see, destroying is easier than rebuilding by margin. To kill a bug, for example, all you need is a shoe. And you don't even have to be a shoemaker. Any plumber can do it. But how many plumbers can revive a squashed bug? Take all the plumbers that ever lived, give them the best equipment the Bible predicted, and they will still shake their head, say it will cost you more, and they need to go back and get the right part. But God can revive 1,000,000,000,000 squashed flies a second, while reviving all the dying bacteria killed by Satan's antibiotic. And at the same time, he can fix 1,000,000,000,000 bugs, or rather, re-bug them, so they can infiltrate Satan's or Microsoft, Vaporware, or DNA. In short, God works much harder than your boss. Trust me. He rebuilds every human being, every cell in every organism, designs every snowflake and every molecule from scratch. With one hand, remember. In other words, God does 1,000,000,000,000 of trillions miracles every nanoseconds, and then he stops. Yeah, every miracle has a beginning and an end. Wow, said SDB. I never thought of it that way. That's a lot of work. You can say that again. That's a lot of work, he said again. Don't take it so literally, I said. But you see my point. God is a busy so-and-so. So little time, so many wars. You know, SDB, those holy wars are not going to win themselves. Thank God, I guess, said SDB. I wasn't aware of that. I'm glad you appreciate what God is doing for you. I let him have it. You could tell him that, perhaps. I mean, personally. I wouldn't mind doing that, he said, encouragingly enough. But why does he have to stop? What do you mean? I asked. You've got a job, right? Yes. You go to work, I said. You do your work, and then you stop, surely. You don't expect anyone, divine or otherwise, to work non-stop. That wouldn't be fair, right? I can see your point, GBF, he said, but God needs to take responsibility for his creations. For example, my little niece, she's got cancer, and the doctors say it's too late to cure her. Why does she have to die? Oh, I sometimes feel really frustrated. Can't those atheists work obvious things out for themselves? Do we have to spoon feed them everything? I mean, he just wouldn't shut up. It's just another miracle. He does a zillion zillions of them every microsecond, right? It's a trillion trillions every nanosecond, but never mind. I stand corrected, he said, sitting down. All I'm asking for is a tiny miracle. Surely you can arrange that, what with your connections, and I hear you. And I must say, you disappoint me. My inner civil servant was in charge now. Can't you see God is busy? There comes a time that even the Almighty God needs to prioritize. Prioritize? That's right, I said. What you don't seem to understand, SDB, is that God, although omnipotent in principle, has to take stock every now and again, and unfortunately for your niece, for example, make some unpleasant decisions. Satan's delivery boy didn't like the sound of that. But, no buts and no ifs, I said. When you make omelette, you break eggs. What would you do in God's place? What would I do? Yes, if you were God. Well, I would help, of course. Well, thank God you're not God, because God helps those who help themselves. Does your niece help herself? Of course she doesn't. If my niece could cure cancer on her own, I'm sure she would, and you're not helping her either, if I may say so. Why don't you take it as a sign that God loves your niece and can't wait to get his hands on her? His hand on her. Between you and me, if I were a father, I would start working towards a replacement. Hey, what? You heard. You've seen one, you've seen them all. God's time is too. I could see SDB's brain getting overloaded. The wheels in it were spinning, and two trains of thought clearly collided head on. Sorry, said SDB. I can see where you're coming from. So little time, so many elementary particles to have a word with? Exactly, I said. SDB was getting what God was all about, which meant I could soon move on. So little time, so many lost souls to convert. So the little girl with cancer, why doesn't he cure her? This was not the Satan delivery boy I knew. It's not that she is my niece. I mean, in general, why does a little innocent? Can you prove she's innocent? I didn't think so. That shut him up for a second. Okay, I said. You know what? If it makes you happy, let's, for the sake of the argument, say she's innocent. Although you and I know, so why does an innocent until proven otherwise girl have to die? We are born to die, I said, my voice as hard as a turtle's armor. And even if she is innocent, you are not. She has to die. But why so young? SDB lost all dignity. It was pathetic. Do I have to spell it out for you? Maybe. Okay. Look at my face. Now watch the middle of my face. A little lower now. Don't look at my nose. It's my mouth you want to concentrate on. Now, read my lips. She is not fit for purpose. Silence. But I'll see what I can do. Thanks. Don't mention it, or I'll have to kill you. Okay. By the way, you know that sequence of photos? He changed the subject, thank God. The Ken Hovind one, the one with the lady demonstrating the second law? What about it? I'm sorry to stop you here, but there must have been a misunderstanding on the purpose of life. What we're good for, in other words. Well, I don't know about you, but God knows what I am good for, and so does my goldfish here. Or at least he knew it 10 seconds ago. As for you, dear reader, this should be interesting. So, why don't we find out? What do you know? I didn't know it, but it says here that it's not man's job to be fit for purpose. It's the state, the church, and society's job to serve him. Okay. Or her. Sorry, I'll deal with this new opinion of mine later. In the meantime, SDB was telling me about Hovind's sequence of photos. There is another photograph, he said. A fifth one. That's incredible, I said. An incredible claim. I take it you have an incredible evidence to go with it? I'll get to that, said SDB. The photograph was taken just about the time of the second coming. It shows the scattered bones of the dead lady reassemble themselves and come alive. In fact, that lady looks fit for purpose again. A real sweet little 16. Shiny hair and smooth skin. Big, radiant smile. The whole works. I would say it looks exactly like the first photo. Number 2. A radiant, young, fit for purpose, sweet little 16, fully reassembled. So, what makes you think it's a different photo, I asked? Was there a time signature? No time signature, he said, but there was a number at the bottom of the photograph. I held my breath. A drop of cold sweat formed on the tip of my nose. It was number 5. I was astounded. What do you know? I had no doubt in my mind that this was proof positive that the second coming was coming to a graveyard near you. I know some of you might find the vision of skeletons crawling up the ground and morphing into the people they once were a little disturbing, and you'd rather spend the night in the movies, but for us believers, is there a better feeling than going to your local graveyard and seeing all your dead relatives materialize right there in front of your eyes? Nothing I can think of saying that. Between you and me, there is a relative or two who, I hope, get their bones crossed and fail to come to life. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind them being alive again, but perhaps they can just miss their reunion. Those 2, or maybe 3 relatives, always used to make the rest of us try to bury ourselves even at weddings. I like my reunions to be quiet affairs, but that's me. Still, this was an exciting news, the kind of news item that I couldn't sit on without sharing. If one is about to come, one is better be forewarned. I called Dr. Kent Hovind's number, which is one of the few I remembered without consulting my trusty address book. The phone rang only once, and just like God, he was there for me, as if I was the only person in the world trying to talk to him. Dr. Hovind? Before I reveal to you the content of our conversation, let me just reassure those who care about such stuff. No little girls have been given cancer in the preparation of this chapter.
Hi, this is Dr. Ken Hovind,
said the phone.
I am otherwise engaged. If you must know, I am down at Diamond. One of our pterodactyls seemed to have a problem with the book of Ezekiel. Nothing an electric shock can't fix.
I was about to leave a message, but then the doctor's voice said, "Be with you in a second." "Dr. Hovind?" I said. "Speaking." "Dr. Hovind, this is GBF here." I said, "You know, God's best friend?" "I know you are, GBF. You're doing a mighty fine job," he said. Some of the more alert amongst you readers might note that Dr. Ken Hovind, God's best defender and legal advisor, didn't take issue with my credentials. To the skeptics amongst you, this is perhaps a hint as to where you can shove your doubts. "What's on your mind, son?" he continued. "Don't make me say it again." "Are you talking to me?" "Nope. It's my son Eric here. A bit of education. I need both hands here. Right. I'm with you. Now what's on your mind?" "Mine? Yes, spit it out. I don't have all day." "Well, doctor," I said, not sure quite how to put it. "Have you experienced the second coming lately?" "No," said Dr. Hovind after a short pause. "Not since I married the good lady wife, many a year ago. But no buts and no ifs, please. You were saying?" "Well, I have a photo here that was taken just at the very moment that the second coming was happening." "Ah, that," said Kent. "Happens all the time. It's called a prophecy."